Sometimes you might want to ensure that an element always takes up a certain amount of vertical space on a web page, regardless of its content. Also, you might want to create consistent layouts and spacing across different elements by setting a minimum height for these elements. To do this, we can ask CSS to give an element a minimum or maximum size. One property that can achieve this is the min height property. Now, min height is a property that allows you to set the minimum height of an element, regardless of its content. This means that if the element's content is smaller than the value set for min height, the element will still be set to the min height value. But if the content is larger than the min height value, the element will be as tall as the content. In other words, to expand to accommodate the content. Let's use an example. In our example, we will give the inner div with a green border a min height of 200 pixels. This means at all times the height of the element would not shrink below 200 pixels. It can exceed it if the content is large enough to cause an increase. We can include some text. The text isn't that much, but we can see that the element maintains the size even though the height of the text is smaller. We can increase the text, and we will see that the element increases to accommodate the extra content. Now, while this property sets the minimum size of an element, the CSS max height property sets the maximum height of an element. If the content of the element exceeds the specified max height, the overflow property will determine how the overflow is handled. For example, if the overflow property is set to scroll, a scroll bar will appear when the content exceeds the max height. We can use max height to scale down an image if there is not enough space to display it. Here we set the max height to 100%. This means that the image should not exceed the total height, that is 100% of the parent element. In this example, the image's intrinsic height is larger, but it is scaled down because of the max height value. If we increase the parent's height to 500 pixels, the image increases since there is room for expansion. Remember that the image's intrinsic height is 512 pixels. So setting the max height to 100% will cause it to fill up the available height as long as the parent element's height is less than 512 pixels. If we set the parent element's height to 1000 pixels, there is more than enough room for the image to attain its full size. Notice it expands no more after reaching the full height.